was so detailed. I felt so overwhelmed by just everything. And she was only on chemo for about a year. I mean, I filled this notebook and then some. But anyway, and with it, I kept all of her basic information. I kept her prescriptions. This was, part 2 was all about her treatment, what was going to be in her treatment, what the side effects were, what to look for, what to avoid, things like that. This right here was her dosing schedule. And then bills. I said, oh my gosh, the bills. Her doctor said, oh, don't worry, you're now into the Ferrari of medicine. Yeah, I think I paid for probably 3 or 4 of them. But, and then scans, her receipts, and then her summaries of everything that was taken care of. Now, you say, what makes this so important? Well, okay, I've had a bill box all my life. I've had other ways of keeping track. But working here at the school, by learning the notebook method, it's not just recording things for posterity or recording things to keep. In this case, this was my salvation. This was in such a hectic time when my mind was every which way. This was something that helped me stay focused. It kept me on track. It kept her dosed on time. Thankfully, I can say today she's cancer-free. Unbelievable. Just goes to show you, just until it's your time, you're just not going to go. Believe me. Oh boy, let me tell you, she's still kicking around. She's 80 years old now, and she's always lived with me. Anyway, and then also, this is another one of my teaching notebooks. This is a way to record this, and this one is the I did a read. This is something we do in March, and we do reading all the month of March. And so this is a way for me to keep track of all the reading logs and let me know where they are as far as how many minutes and whether or not they qualify. So the notebook method is more than just finished products. I think sometimes the notebook method can be a work in progress. My daughter uses a notebook to organize her bills, and each tab is a week during the month. And then at the very beginning, she has a calendar, and then she puts her bills in these little sheet protectors, and it tells her when each bill is due. Because she's a very busy working mom. She teaches kindergarten, and she works weekends at an old folks home. She has 2 boys, and she's a single mom, and she's going to school full-time to finish her degree. So the notebook method keeps her on track. It keeps her so that she doesn't forget to pay a bill. She doesn't forget to take care of things that need to be done. She keeps the boys' appointments in there. She keeps their music lessons in there. And that way she checks it every day. And it keeps her on track. So anyway, do you have any questions? I was going to give you a few minutes for questions and answers on this, and then I'm going to turn the time over to her mom. So, yes.
From a kindergarten standpoint, and I've done it both ways, where I filed all of their items, and we kind of graduated to the point where I thought, okay, well, first graders can do it, kindergarten can do it too. And so I try to have them file. It works for some kids, I notice. Other kids, when you tell them to open up that 3 ring, they don't always close it. We call explosions all over the place. So everything's in disarray. And I mean, is that something that you just keep encouraging them to?
Again, it's kind of like Andy's bell curve. You have that 10% that are just, you give them the paper. You don't. I had a couple this year. I didn't even have to tell them where it goes. It's like they knew, and it went. And so, and then you've got that 80% that's kind of, well, they'll hit it in the general area, and that's good enough, you know, beginning or end of.
I was just going to share about kindergarten, because we know about the explosion, but it actually has gotten much better if you tell them specifically which tab you're putting it on top of.
Well, we do that. The problem is they're not always like closing the rings. And so they'll put it on the shelf, and the next time they file, they're pulling it off. And
it goes all
it's
everywhere.
We just
So-
have to remind.
Yeah.
Coaching.
Patience, I guess.
Yeah.
Then you just say freeze.
Yeah.
That happens, freeze. Don't touch anything.
And I will come and collect it, and what a nice neat ball. And when I have padding hour, I'll fix the day. Yeah, sometimes you're right. Trying to teach them to file it away is kind of like teaching them to hang up their clothes in the closet, put something away in the drawer. It's a learned thing that just takes time. Some kids catch on great, some kids are just slower. Excuse me, children. I should say children.
Well, I appreciate it because my first year, I had stacks and stacks and stacks, and I was filing all over stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned, yeah, that's not the best, you know.
Well, and it helps if you have tabs where it doesn't have to be in chronological order. I'm OCD, so it's so hard for me not to get every single paper in there, right? But it's all right though, because if they get it in the right section, that's close enough. It's good. Yeah, you tell them the color of the tab, because sometimes they don't read. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't read, and so you're going, it's behind the yellow tab, on top of the green tab. I always say behind and on top of, because I think second grade goes to behind, and kindergarten is always on top of. So first grade we say behind such and such, on top of such and such. That way they get it in basically the right spot. So it can be confusing sometimes, yes.
So are these kept for like ever?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, really?
It's
Yeah,
not
I just
easy.
had this vision of purging all this stuff in my house and all of a sudden I'm like, now we're gonna accumulate.
That go through at the end of it, and it's best to go through like right now.
Yeah.
And they'll go through and kind of clean it out and keep the things that between them and their child are important. But other parents, I keep it all in, not in this.
Yeah, my daughter's in 10th grade, and I have at least one notebook per year. I could fill an entire library shelf with one child. But that's me. I gotta learn to throw things out, but, yeah.
Is everything that you do you put them in there, or is it just like special things?
Well, that's a good question, because I offer the children whether or not they want to include it in their notebook with some things. Some things have to be filed, and then some things I give them the option, would you rather take that home? Taking it home means it usually gets thrown in the waste bin eventually. But that way, you know, if they want to take it home, sometimes I'll have students take things home from history or something, and they'll teach family home evening with it. Like they'll get a thing, you know, especially some of the scripture stories. Oh, they can't wait to take that home and tell them all about it. So it's okay, you know, to offer, you know, if you don't want to take it home, I can hole punch it, put it in your book for you, or you can take it home and share it. It's up to them. So I've had some children that really would rather not write or do anything in their notebook, so it's very scant at the end of the year. I don't know what happens to their stuff, really. I've found some things like behind a bookcase and under the desk in the back, that kind of stuff, where they'll squirrel it away. But, or sometimes I'll find it's stuff in the back of their homework notebook, like, why did you take that home? You didn't even work on it. Anyway, I think they're just trying to sort of lose it along the way. But some children really enjoy their notebook. They enjoy looking back on it. I had one mom tell me this morning that she has a cluttered table all summer because her children like to leave their notebooks out on the kitchen table, and when they sit down to have their breakfast, they'll look through, and at lunch they look through, and I'm thinking, ooh, okay. Yes.
So if you're keeping all the best work, or pretty much all the work in the notebook, how do the parents know what's going on in the classroom? And what their kids are
That's
reading?
a good question too. So what happens is for parent-teacher conference, they're welcome to come in, and I always set these out in the hallway, give the parents a chance to take a look at them while they're waiting their turn. Hopefully they won't be waiting very long, and they can come in and look at them in my room too. Also, occasionally I've let parents take them home for a long weekend, like Christmas or something, but you just be careful that it's with the parents that you know will bring them back. So otherwise you'll end up starting over with another notebook because it got left at Aunt Martha's house in London or something. So yeah, We just wanted to share it. Okay, that's all right. So just make a new one. It just won't have all the stuff in it. Other than that, I also, not wanting to keep everything, something I've done is I've gone through and I've scanned the very best of some things that I really don't want to get lost, or if you don't want to keep the whole notebook, scanning things and then keeping a digital backup of it, and then
For each child? Or are you talking as a parent?
As a parent.
as a parent, I keep each, well, for my children. So I will just keep digital copies of some of the better things. That way, you know, if something happened to it, I would still have a backup.
I had the best idea this week. Maybe you guys already heard this, but people will start an email account for their kids right when they're born.
Oh, I sent that to you, yeah.
Oh, is it great? Great. Anyway, but that's another thing you could do, is what they do is they start an email account for their kids. Don't tell them about it. Start to scan or print or write down memories for them in this email. Send them all these emails, and then when they're 18, they give them the password.
The password to their,
To everything.
yeah, to their Facebook account or their email account.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm a big one for digital, so yes.
As my kids come to this school, something that I have found it, because you don't see as much work from home, but you do see work from home. So it's not like everything they do goes in there and you don't get to see it, so you do get to keep track. But the newsletters from the teachers always say what they're doing and things, and that helps me because then I turn to them, so you're doing Heidi now. Well, I know in second grade what we're doing, but
Yeah.
I can turn to them and go, okay, so you're learning this right now. And so I think if you're going to do the notebook method, you have to do other forms of parent communication.
I agree. So, and like anything, I mean, seriously, I can fill my house with notebooks and things. If it really means something to you, try to condense it into one. So instead of having to condense it into one, or even a little bit smaller, because this could easily hold a lot more paper, I could make that a smaller notebook. And I'm not going to be opening it every single day, so it doesn't matter if it's a little bit cramped. And so that way you can just save yourself a little bit of shelf space, or just digitize it all. So if you really don't have the room, you don't want to keep it. So I'm going to switch over to Jill, and she's going to continue as a parent in our school, things that she does.
So Julie asked me, or McNamarra asked me to come share what I do, but what I'm coming to realize is that I'm really lucky to have, my daughter is now 10, and she was the only child until she was 8. So I got to really focus on her for a long time, and I spent a lot of time in the classroom, especially in kindergarten and first grade. And I'm lucky because she likes school and it comes easily to her. I have a new little one, she's a year and a half, and I can already tell that this is not going to go the same way. So it's easy for me to come up here and say I know everything, but I think I was actually really lucky in that I have a daughter who enjoys school and it comes really easily to her. So I really don't know the best way to give advice, because I think I'm going to come to all of you in a few more years and ask you, how did you get your child to love to read? Because this little one doesn't like to be read to. So anyway, I'm going to be a little bit hodgepodge because I started taking notes when Mrs. McNamara started speaking, and I kind of made myself some notes of what I wanted to say on top of what she said. So I'm not going to be like formal in how I speak, but one thing one parent asked is, how do you know what's going on in the classroom if everything's right here, not coming home very much? But be aware that like the spelling homework and the math homework comes home very regularly. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. McNamara, but I would say of all the things that they're doing in school that they need the most help at home is the spelling and the math. So you should be getting that regularly and know what's going on. They still often have a math notebook, but most of that is things that have gone home and then come back to school as homework. So hopefully that helps. Of course, you should be helping them with everything, but the daily homework is math and spelling. And then
And reading.
reading. Sorry. There's reading homework, but there's not much paperwork that goes with the reading homework. That, yes, I'm glad you pointed that out. Yes, reading homework. The other thing that I would highly recommend is, but how many of you are new parents to this school, like you have kindergartners coming in? Okay. Okay. So again, this is a parent advice, this is not school advice, don't quote me on this, but my other recommendation to you to understand how all of this works is volunteer in the classroom as much as you can. Most of the teachers love it. And what no one told me when my daughter went into kindergarten, I was so excited to help and everything. So I signed up to help with the Fall Festival, and I signed up to help with the Shakespeare play. And then finally getting to school and seeing what was going on, I realized they really need me in the classroom to help. So I had an only child for a long time, so I had the luxury of helping with all those other things that I had signed up for, and then throwing in classroom help. But my best advice to all of you is helping with Fall Festival and Shakespeare and all those things. There is a time and a place. You will definitely have plenty of opportunities to help with those things. But if you have very limited time and you can't come to the school very often, save it for coming into the classroom, especially this kindergarten, first grade, second year, so you can really understand how all of this works. Because my daughter's going into 5th grade, and it's still coming together for me. I told Miss McNamarra, in 1st grade and 2nd grade, I didn't really see a lot of things. This 4Ring, the 4Ring, with the little one, I didn't quite get it, and that's partially my fault. But now that she's in 4th grade and going into 5th grade, I see the big picture now. So be patient with yourself and your kids if they're these younger ones, because there's things that may not make sense to you, but I promise you it does all come together. But if you can spend some time in the classroom, seeing what's going on, that makes it that much easier. So again, volunteer as much as you can for everything, but if you're very limited on your time, go into the classroom if the teacher is comfortable with that, which again, most of the teachers are awesome about that, and spend time in the classroom. And even if you're not volunteering, this is one of the things I love about the school, is you can just go in there and sit and listen. And make a goal to do that at least once or twice a month, if you can. I know that's really hard. Now that I have a baby, I'm like, oh, how did those mother moms that had other kids all the time do that? But I know, because we're supposed to be talking about 4Ring notebook methodology, which Ms. McNamarra covered really well, and then word study. And especially the word study, I didn't grow up with phonograms. That was a whole new world for me. And Mrs. Strong is very helpful, and you have workshops now that they didn't have when I was a new parent. But that is another thing that if you come into the school and sit in the classroom, I think it comes together so much better. Anyway, hopefully most of you are smarter than me and you can figure your own, but I felt better coming in. How are we doing on time? In talking about 4Ring, who knows what 4Ring is? Who wants to give like a quick explanation? Any teachers here that feel really comfortable with reupholstery? Have they talked? You have to preview. I haven't been here all day. Have they talked about it? So, okay, good. Okay, awesome. And I think with these younger grades, as a parent, again, Mrs. McNamarra and I were talking, and one thing I wish I would have done more with I did do it a little bit, but I wish I would have done it more at this age, and I wish I would have been given this advice, is, for example, I love to garden, and I'm always researching out plants that I want to put in my yard. And my daughter shares that love of gardening, and so I 4R what plants I put in my garden. And I need to verbalize to her more like, oh, we need a plant for this spot, and let's research out on Pinterest or Google, because they're awesome for 4R. Well, not for super factual things, but when you're trying to find a plant for your yard. And I thinking this talk over and thinking about what I do with her, I want to start. How many of us are sitting and looking at something on the computer at least once a week, and our kids are kind of running around? I'm guilty of doing that sometimes. So again, I need to start verbalizing to her more how I'm 4Ring with different things in just regular everyday life. And then another thing that came up for me with 4Ring is just happened to be at sacrament meeting yesterday, and you always get good things when you need them. And somebody referred to Elder Scott's talk about Revelation, and because I've been thinking about 4Ring, it really applied to 4Ring. And one of the things that he talked about is when you get Revelation, you will get more if you write it down. And that's true. So there's things in the gospel that we can talk to them about 4Ring, and that it's his October 2009 conference talk. Well, and then he just had one in April too that they both work really well with 4Ring. So I'm not going to go over that with you right now, but in thinking about Revelation, there's a lot of 4Ring that goes on with that. So, is there anything else? No. Your time. Let me look here. Oh, one other thing, in addition to being in the classroom as much as you can, even if it's just here and there, I felt I was really intimidated to ask the teachers questions, and that's silly because they're all nice, like Mrs. McNamarra. But I put a lot of pressure on myself, like I should know this. Why don't I know? Like phonograms. I should just be able to figure this out. And I was a little embarrassed by the middle of first grade when I should probably have already known something by kindergarten and understood how it works. I'd finally get up enough guts to ask. But there were other parents that I was friends with that would ask all the time, and they were really good at asking questions from the very beginning. And then there were other parents that I observed that never came in, never asked. They just kind of let their kids figure it out, or at least that's how it appeared. Just ask. Don't be silly like me and wait. The teachers are really, really great about answering questions. Even if it seems like a silly question, just ask. That's what I really encourage you to do. So. And then, yeah, every kid's different, so you gotta almost figure it out a little bit every time to make it work for them. Does anyone else have any great tips to share or any advice?
Do you have an example of the homework notebook?
I have one in my classroom, so before, I'll run down there before you go into the other one, and I'll bring you a copy of that. You can see how that.
There's samples right out in front of the auditorium of all
Oh,
of
I
the.
know. They're all the
Does it have a
notebooks.
homework one?
Yeah, all the notebooks are.
There's like a notebook.
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
it's a notebook. I have one down in the classroom, so it's different. Yeah, it's different.
And more than one notebook?
Well, the homework notebook is just, it's like a working notebook that goes home. It's usually black like this, and it just has tabs. It would be parent letter, math, reading, spelling, and then behind spelling would be the spelling rules, to help parents figure that out. So, I was going to start with a joke, but everybody wasn't in here, so I'll share it with you now. Okay, so, speaking of phonograms, what's a pirate's favorite letter? Ah, you'd think. Except for the letter P, because it's like R, only it only has one leg. I was talking to a friend of mine at the emergency room the other day when my son was in, and then my son, all woozy on morphine because he has a kidney stone. He was in the emergency room. He's laying there and he's half out of it, and he goes, "Oh, but everyone knows that the sailors loved of the sea," and he started cracking up laughing. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. I thought that was pretty good for him to get these done. Anyway, yes.
This is just personal. Is there anyone that does homeschool for the younger in here that can, like, I know nothing, but I'm thinking about it?
There you go.
Can I talk to you later?
No, that's a good idea too. Because if you want to get a few phone numbers while you're here, because oftentimes it's that networking that connects people together and it'll answer questions. So problems you're having. Yes, distance learning, which is like online learning, it's the computer learning. Some things like that that you can benefit from. And honestly, most of the teachers will even be around for a little bit this week. They can answer your questions too. Yes.
I'm curious from other parents' perspective. I'm Matt.
Uh-oh.
Is there too much religion? I mean,
You would think
there's a
so
lot
from there.
from this,
Yeah.
and I want my kids to have, principles and have, obviously, you wouldn't send your kid here, but, I mean, I want them to learn
That's a
cool
good
stuff,
question, because it is a Christian-based education based on the Noah plan.
You'll learn.
That, yes, that there's a lot that's not. However, with foundations training, there's a lot more. And because we include Christ in every subject, there's always that foundation. Esther, you had,
Well, we have a classroom and we have little needs. And if there's a bug on the wall, they're going to fall apart, because when you smush it, you have to take it out. So 25 of you have to go outside to let the bug out. There's all of that kind of thing. But then when teacher loses things, you can have a prayer. Or when one of your children is terminally ill, you can have prayers. And that's the beauty of it. So no, there's not too much religion. We're gonna find it in every subject, but yet they're going to come home and they will have felt the Spirit, and that's what you want. And you want them to not be bullied, and you want them to feel good about themselves, that they're an individual. And you're just gonna love it, that they're learning self-government, they're learning all those principles. So it's not gonna be too much. You're gonna find that, yes, they are going to be a peculiar people, but isn't that what we want them to be?
yes.
So I'm a new parent, but I came in and sat on a couple of classes last year just to kind of check it out. And I remember listening to part of the math, and I mean, they didn't talk about very much religion during that part. They were focusing on the math, but then they did a reading session after, and the teacher read a book, and at the end of the book, they kind of talked about the moral of the story and how it relates to what Heavenly Father wants us to do, and that kind of stuff. But I mean, like it's been said, they're not only teaching that, they just kind of pull it in to relate it to core beliefs. From what I,
Because we have multiple religions here at our school. We have had Indian, from India. Thank you. Yeah, and then we've had Jewish, we've had Catholic, we've had all kinds of students who come here. So to answer your question, you're getting from the fire hose a lot of that in foundations training because it's principle based, and so those principles include Christ. But the content of everything that we teach is not just the Bible stories. There are other things to be learned, but with the foundational, Christ is in everything. So I hope that helps.
I'll say as a parent, so we've been through kindergarten with Mrs. Strong, but I missed all this stuff last year because I had a baby and kind of did all that. But it's incredible how much they accomplish in one day. And all these things like the order of the notebook and the homework, at first it is really overwhelming, especially for a first time. My kindergartner is my oldest, so it was a lot of stuff to take in and the phonograms and trying to get it all in. I remember asking Linda, is it going to be this much work every night? I mean, every night I was signing permission slips and turning in this thing and that thing. But once you really get into it and you go into the classroom and realize that, okay, we've got 15 minutes until art, so now we're going to learn these 3 spelling words and this, and it's amazing how much they come home learning. And of course it does all come back to the core Christian values, but they learn a lot of stuff in one day at this school.
I kind of came in with that same concern because we live in Utah County and it's like this bubble within a bubble. Like, you never experienced the real world is how I kind of really came into this. And my son, so I have a new kindergarten coming in, but my son, he just did 4th grade. They're in 4th grade here. And I've watched, just observed, because I'm like, okay, are you going to be this weird Utah County Mormon kid who doesn't know anything but that? You know what I mean? And so I'm watching him, and it's been really fun to watch. First of all, his academics are very impressive. He's excelled. I mean, the things that he learns, I don't even know. I mean, a lot of it I don't know, but I've just been impressed with the academic side of it. as well as what I'm noticing is little teeny character traits coming out in him and shifts in his person that matter to me and matter, you know, as he's contributing to society and gets older. I'm observing this like young man starting to blossom as a person, and he's got self-government really starting to get that under control, and that matters a ton too. So I don't know if that helps. It doesn't feel like it's too religion-ish here. It feels like a perfect balance.
I've heard other people say that too, that they're very concerned, oh my, what do we do if that's all you're learning? Well, but because Christ created the earth and everything is part of our Heavenly Father's plan, including us being here, it's the whole idea is we learn through the Spirit. And so if we have the Spirit in the classroom, how much easier will it be for us to learn and grow than someone who's fighting against all these outside pressures when you have this safe environment?
I'm sorry to say, but I just need to say, I'm a new parent for this coming year, and having been in a place where the Spirit is not present, I can already see that there's just so much more learning, and my boys are so excited. They felt it when they came in, that they feel like they're excited to learn here. And so I think when you can sense when that is absent, you need a moral environment for education to really happen. And I'm excited about that.
Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else?
I guess my thing is, I mean, born and raised in Las Vegas. To me, I've been at the school for 10 years in our American Heritage Academy in Las Vegas, and what drew me in was we came to a training about 10 years ago here, and it was my first year teaching. And I think they did a little, they had a homeschool group, I just remember, came up on stage, recreated how they would teach about Abraham Lincoln, the life of Abraham Lincoln. That just stuck in my mind. And I remember, it was Jeanette Jacobs at the time, but she's now married. I remember getting up and just explaining those 7 principles. And for me, as a teacher and a parent, I walked away just feeling, I want to be a better parent for my child. Like it made me just want to explode and just learn more as much as I could and just make a big difference. And I can feel, as a kindergarten teacher, I feel it in my class. I mean, yeah, kind of the same situation. I had about probably 50% LDS in my class. I had a few kids, some kids who didn't go to church at all, but just to see the difference and learning them, just watching them learn how to pray. We had an unfortunate accident with, we lost one of our little girls in our class, got really sick and ended up dying. That unified our class, really brought our school, even in fact, together. Just having that experience and being able to, explain a little bit more about what we believe in the plan of salvation. What a wonderful experience, and just to see how it was a united front after that, unfortunate accident happened that for me, I think, why put your kid in a situation of distractions? Like, why put them out there in that environment where they're just distracted and they're confused and they just don't know what they're doing? You bring them here, it's focused learning, it's focused principles, it's virtue, it takes all of those things that we learn in church and they get it every day. And I mean, how can you deny that? And having the Spirit in your classroom makes the biggest difference in the world. So they learn way more than you ever expected they would learn. So.
Thank you very much for sharing. In closing, I'll just leave on this note. I had a boy in my class, probably about 8 or 9 years ago, who was so worried about spelling. He was overwhelmed by his spelling, and he got lots of help from home, but he just was not a very good speller. And I can remember at the end of our morning devotional, I started to hand out the spelling papers so he could take his spelling test. And you could see just the terror on his face. He was going to do so poorly again on this spelling test. And as I went through the room handing out the papers, I noticed he slid silently off his seat and he knelt beside his desk. And he said a prayer. And it made all the difference. It really did. And I don't know if in public school you would be allowed to do that without being sent to the office or somebody being offended by it or whatever. And so, you know, I think there's a lot to be said for a child knowing where they can turn for help. And so, I thank you all for coming today. You still have about 2 minutes to use the restroom or get a drink or whatever you want, and I will find that homework notebook for you.